race truck swerved off the road and hit a Colleen and then a tree. And she was pinned between the two.
What does that mean, pinned?
The day before we started filming was the day after September 11th. And so we in the world were all dealing with the repercussions of that event. And also that we were starting with something important.
Carolyn, this is the last time I'm going to talk with my wife.
Yes, it is.
I had not worked with Mel Gibson before, and the idea was to kind of break the ice right away and do one of the most important scenes, if not the most important scene, on the first day, and just get it all out, go through that whole process and get to the meat of things.
Does it hurt?
I don't feel much.
Good.
Because it was a night shoot, I had to kind of go to bed really late to kind of get my body used to going into a couple of night shoot nights and not be overwhelmed. So I tried to sleep late, but I couldn't. I was too anxious, and I got up. Just looked at all the notes. We had prepped like crazy for this, and I went to the forest, which is where we shot this, in this beautiful forest. It was really magical as we began that day, and we did a candlelight vigil before we started shooting. Everybody raised a candle, and it was, we were all, crying at that point before we even started rolling on a scene where we're doing basically a man and woman last conversation to each other before she dies. So it was charged. The air was super charged. And then Mel Gibson comes to the set, and he's in his priest outfit for the first time. And probably when I'm an old man, I'll probably remember that day as a big day. Technically, in chronological order, the first scene that happened in the characters' lives is the first scene that we shot, the mother dying. That happened 6 months ago. But the movie actually starts with Mel waking up and suddenly having this bad feeling about something. And you get introduced one by one to the characters along the way.
Where are they?
And so it was one of those classic James Bond beginnings. An action sequence, get everybody's blood pumping, and then start the movie.
He understands the language of film. And not only that, he really loves what he does, so that he transmits that, and he really wants to talk about it. He has a very good understanding of how he wants to see the story and what he wants to extract from it, technically on film and from performance. I mean, those are things you talk about on the spot. He doesn't settle for the usual kind of, oh, that was good enough.
Well, let's go. What's that? Who was that for? Let's go.
It was for you.
And he'll even say, well, that was good, but like, hey, I want something else. I want something more. I want something. And you sort of like, okay, you shut it down. And he's picked up on a couple of my shortcuts, bad habits, tricks I've learned over the years to get around most people, and they'll sort of eat it up, but he won't buy it. He's very observant. So he pushes you just a little further to extract something more from you, which is nice. And I know some people will get their noses out of joint by something like that, saying, what, you don't like what I'm offering you? What did you hire me for? But for me, it's just a great learning experience.
On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
The thing I wanted to bring after Unbreakable was the humor. So this movie, I really wanted to enjoy their confusion about what was happening. Is this ridiculous, or am I the only one? So it was really fun. And then I forgot about it, and as we cast the movie, cast all these amazing, serious actors, then in dailies, when we first watched the first dailies, everybody's laughing in dailies, and I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of funny.
Excluding the possibility that a female Scandinavian Olympian was running around outside our house last night, what else might be a possibility?
So when I saw the humor rising up and becoming one of the giant elements of the movie, I was really psyched. And I need to, you don't cover yourself up, Rory. You gotta feel the camera. You know how I always tell you about feeling the camera and you keep covering yourself up? Feel that camera. I need to feel your face. Okay?
We actually had a read-through, which is a wonderful thing, which you don't always get. And then we do a couple of rehearsals. But he really uses each take, in a way, as a rehearsal. He gives you so many different notes throughout the different takes that you're allowed to play it many different ways, hopefully always honing in closer to his ideal vision of the scene. but he loves giving the actors all the opportunity in the world to create something that's fresh and original, and it's cool.
There's a great camaraderie on this set for a number of reasons. I think a large portion of the crew have worked on all of Night's films, and so there's this great sense of community. And Night just has a wonderful energy about him. He's very soothing, and I think that rubs off on everybody. And Mel is just an inspiration. I theorize that after making 50 trillion movies, an actor would become somewhat callous or dead to the process in a sense. But Mel completely proved that theory wrong.
With Joaquin, he's a terrific young actor. Just doing scenes with him, you get a lot. He feeds you a lot. You can only give it back. He gives a lot, so that's fantastic. So there doesn't seem to be a lot of huge egos at work here.
If I had made this movie 2 years ago, I think I would have done the wrong thing. Because the way it popped into my head was, we'll stay in a house with a family and never leave the house. And it'll be a war of the worlds happening. And I just said, you know what? That's not the correct way to motivate this movie. That is the feeling that I want to get, is the claustrophobia of the house. But don't be so restrained, because I think that organic ideas won't come that way. How can you maintain that spirit and still keep the movie alive? And so I said, you know, let me do this town sequence where they go to town just in the first act of the movie. They all go to town to try to get their minds off of this weird stuff that's happening. And so it was such a wonderful way to kind of go to town and then have these people separate, and we learn backstory on all of them.
Do you have any books on extraterrestrials?
I am not a reverend anymore.
You've got 2 minor league home run records, don't you?
5.
It's contaminated.
Carl, there's something wrong with our water.
And then they come back together, and we're back to the plot of the crop circles and what does it mean.
What if it's catching a signal from them?
There's always one scene that I write in my screenplays that has a lot of parts to it, and it's often cut out of my movies. And from the moment I wrote the baby monitor scene was like, this is the scene that's going to get cut out of the movie. What can I do to make sure in advance that it doesn't get cut out? Mel, when he takes the baby monitor, put your hand down, and then say, Morgan, I say, get down.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Ready? Are we rolling? And of course, when we went to shoot it, we had all kinds of problems. And then you're listening to the sound. Now you start to slowly look over at your dad's hand, who's holding the monitor. I just couldn't get the tone right because it was a very complicated scene. Now go to the up position. Turn, turn, turn. And it really was 3 parts, you know, the interior of the car, the standing outside the car, so we were shooting through the doors, and then on top of the car. It's so fragmented over such a long period of time that you can't tell if it's matching, if the flow is working. And it's a pivotal scene because it basically is the last moment that the family kind of enjoys this phenomenon in a fun way. And it was just a very tricky thing.
There's 2 of them talking.
I'm amazed it's in the movie. Cut. Okay, cool. Back to one, back to one.